Good afternoon. And this is your crypto day afternoon. And I'm not going to entitle it that. And I'm most certainly not going to consider starting any type of frequent video series like I do within the morning session. All bets, trades, and of the like within one's own risk and their own reward as well. Daily term time frame for Bitcoin. Not going to go over much on it as it continues to resist within the daily term time frame on the 18. And after the move that happened within the early hours today, price action had a small failed breakout on that of 10 o'clock. It has now since had 3 consecutive red candles down to the 18 lows. More importantly, still holding above this key level of support and area, which is around the 3,830-ish or so level. Just because it's a failed breakout doesn't mean it's going to go all the way down, at least at the short-term level of 3,700. However, it's now a correctionary test because this rally that has occurred hasn't yet failed. I'd use the 18 average to do so, and as long as it's not breaking down from the 18 of lows, then it's still good to go. But if it breaks out from the 18 highs, and I like the hourly time frame right now for Bitcoin short term, they're getting above such in here around 4,000, then you might be able to maybe gain at least a couple hundred points, and that's really low volatility. The altcoins, of course, have more. Let's get into them. And we'll start with Strat. I talked about this on the crypto day morning today. And when you look at the setup coming into today, we'll move this line. We don't need it anymore. But it obviously broke that level of resistance. We can see how, oh, this looks like it might break out. And it does. So technical analysis, some people say it doesn't work. Well, they can say what they want. But the price action has now risen to 23,000 and change, or just even from the break of that point, that's 3,000 points, like 15%. So maybe I will put the line back in, because when we look at the short term, we're going to be saying, oh, well, if you play on the break of resistance, how would you do? And if you were waiting for it to come back, how would you have done? Well, let's take a look at this on the 15-minute time frame. If you broke as it was breaking resistance, it was a little early to do so at 21,097, but here around this 21.5, or basically within this point in here, would have worked out to a decent point, and then continuing to go through very well, not breaking through. So if you're using stops decently below the 18, didn't get stopped out here. Obviously it held the 18 in here, so your stop made, if you play that type of game, decently placed over here. Now the 18's rising, so you would rise your stops with the gains. Maybe you look to be profit taking, however one would do it. And of course, for myself, I'm looking to just wait for gains to sell on the up moves, and then if it buys back, buy via that of orders. I have moved this to the Litecoin exchange, so I'm not trading this right now against Bitcoin. I'm kind of regretting, I thought about doing this on both, but regardless of the fact, I'm still playing it, but again, against Litecoin. I'm going to talk about that a little bit in this video as well. But very, very good gains, to say the least. How much further can this go? Well, I mean, on the daily time frame, it's just done, as I mentioned. It can at least get up to the 18 average of highs and even pierce above it a little bit. But when this thing is really ready to go, then maybe it'll start, because this isn't that big of a green candle. Granted, it's not the best of log charts. And however, these things could easily be going up to like the 75, 91 level, where it could go another 4, 5, 6, 10x move. And as we've seen even before, if it even retests the previous level of resistance, it would take a 20x move just to get to that point. And when it had its rally last March, well, it was a lot lower than where it was. So this thing back then went from 67.20, and here's 67. This would have been a 10x move at 67,000. And it almost went up to this point here. So that was like a 70 or 60x move that it had from the start of March, concluding at the end of May. 3 months is all she had for that move. Prices have not seen this low since, albeit we're close now. Prices haven't seen that high since. It almost tried with the January rally. This was one of the ones, of course, that didn't do as well. You could say, yeah, this isn't much of a move. Yeah, all it did was go from 36 up to 150. So, I mean, that was what, 4x? which technically against other coins did better than that, but still trading wise, there was still a lot of profits to be had during that particular up move. We have Binance coin moving up big today, getting back to its previous key area. So the first level of support, or previous support in here, that was an area to look at for resistance. We don't see any there, maybe short term. Yeah, there was a little bit in here, but these were all short-term resistance levels to begin with anyway. But when these things are ready to go, well, as we can see, that's a 20+%. So I've foregone trading the Binance market against other coins, have switched them either to Litecoin or the Bitcoin market. I'm going to talk about the Litecoin market at the end of this video. And therefore, I mean, I sold some before. It kind of sucks. That's fine, though. I still have it, of course, not only because I need to for the fees, but because of trading it. So I got a seller in the 14-something handle. I mean, I'm not too far off from my next sell, which is in the close to this previous high in here in the 160 or so level. And we'll just see how this market plays out. But big moves. Let's take a look to see. I mean, there's no resistance here whatsoever at this key level. It has just been going straight up. You had move that started yesterday morning at about 10 o'clock at a great gain that concluded early in the morning at 2 in the morning, went sideways until 9 o'clock this morning. Interestingly, they both broke out at pretty much the exact same time frame horizon, but this is consecutive. 6 consecutive very good green candles starting from just a bit below the 18 average of lows in here. Just magnificent type of move. Is it overextended? Yes, but the overextension can most certainly keep moving on until, of course, it has stopped doing such. So very good move so far. And we look at this within the weekly chart. It's still within this move. Okay, we had this big gain. You need to see it hold 61, well above that. It stayed above this low. It has basically been in this range-bound market, and it's still at the bottom end of it. But given how a lot of coins have been doing so bad, that if this thing gets out, you're talking about a break of resistance. Maybe we're in line for another good leg higher. But so far today, it's having a good gain. Let's move on next to Tron. And nice setup brewing. From the 18 average of lows around November 27th, 28th, making a move up to 387, coming from 307, so a gain of a little over 20%. But since the high, we can see 3 days of going sideways, even today being the 4th, breaking over some shorter term levels of resistance, albeit barely, and albeit on the short term, of course, as well. But holding the 18 average of highs magnificently. After that's where it came down to on November 30th. That's where we've been supporting yesterday and today as it's newly rising. And this thing has established resistance. So downtrend, I've talked about this many times before. Reversal of trends, stage 1, band flatten out. And it really doesn't take long when you have a day like it did November 28th that does it instantly. Stage number 2, establish a level of resistance. Well, it did it that day, but it then established it a little bit higher at 389. Stage 3, come back to the band. It did that the next day. And it has successfully been correcting that ever since. Stage 4, break established resistance in at 388. So basically break 400. At that point, this thing would have the opportunity to get going. Now, if we look at this even further, it might need to break a bit before that. A break of 400 might just give it a quick move to about 428. It has been sideways ever since the August lows, with the long-term range in at about high 200s, 280-ish, and then resistance between 380. I mean, when this 386 that it hit this day matches so many points, so the resistance is about the high 380s up to about 430. But definitely the potential. I like how this 18 average setup looks. Let's move on next to Neo. I talked about this last night. And, well, I'm surprised that 9 o'clock this morning that this thing broke out and had a fantastic gain. And I'm not surprised. when I say that I was. Because I talked about last night the pattern. When you're looking for failed breakdowns, fast moves higher. Break a key level of support. That's the first one. And we can see where I drew this line in, that was the key level. Then have a decent leg break below. And that's relatively standard for where you would expect a break of this level to go. Just a little bit like this. And then quickly get back into the band. Now this was very quickly. Sometimes after hitting the low, it might go sideways for 2 or 3 periods and then go up in 1 or 2 periods to get back. Okay, that's fine, but this is very common as well too. And then get back to your previous congestion area, which is exactly where this is. And after doing so, the support from this high to this low came back to its previous support from before, right where that line is. It came back to the 18 lows. And then when it was ready to go, I mean, boy, did it ever have a very good gain. When we look at this on a 15-minute time frame, there we can see in here, just leaving at 1400 hours, just 2 o'clock. It gets going and it goes from 1880, high 18s to the mid 19s. So about a 70 or so gain. That's 3.5%. Since then, it's been correcting nicely on the sideways consolidation pattern. So there we go there. Let's move on next to OMG. As this is a coin that I traded. This morning I woke up and I noticed I had a sell order hit. As we can see on this chart that it went up to here. So yeah, maybe my volatility I bought here and up there, but that's only a gain of like 5%. Especially because it's a minimum play for me. It's only worth 2.5 Litecoin, and that's exactly where I traded that on. I ended up buying this on, or selling this rather, on the Cryptopia exchange. And I sold it at 0.062499. So the high was me. Okay, great. I mean, it's artificial. Only price pays. I'm still trying to buy this back. Haven't been able to do so quite easily because I don't want to pay more than what it's worth on the price offered on the exchange, which is why I like placing orders on such, because other people, when they do it, oftentimes will get a poor price. But the way I look at it is this: if OMG goes down, then I'm going to have to say, you know what, we'll both win together. What do I mean by that? Well, I put my sell order at 62.49. Now I want to buy it back at around, what, 44 in here, where it came from. And if the price drops where the real value of this is 0.041, 0.042, 0.04, at some point someone's just going to be like, you know what, I'm going to have to sell my OMG to you and just buy it on Bitcoin for 3% or 4% profit. Okay, but for me, I'm filling my order from the sale, and if I get to buy down here, then I'll stick another sell order up here and then just keep on moving within the game. So that's my first sell order that has happened. I've added OMG just yesterday. I added about 4 or 5 other ones. Most of them were just coins that I sent from Binance. And it got its sell fill. But XBY, I'm not going to put the chart up, but it's starting to go up today. It was at about 410, 420 at the start of the day. I last sold at 475 Satoshi. So let's move on. I'm going to show some interesting charts. And I was going to just put a whole bunch of them together, like 7 or 8. But this is again from the Cryptopia exchange. And on the code link, it had a 10x move once before, going down. Therefore, anyone who had buy orders here got hit. SRN, 15x move on this one, and ARC had a 35x move. I might have looked at about 70, 80, 90 different codes quickly. 60 maybe, definitely wasn't over 100. And I only really found 3. And of course, this is over like the last 8 months, 7 months or so. The idea is, if you don't mind having coins that you know you're not going to be using anytime soon, and even if you do, no big deal. If you need to, no big deal, that is. is what you could do is you could put buy orders in for these coins like 10x below or so. And say you had 5 Litecoin, and putting 0.1 Litecoin on each one, you could put orders in for 50 different coins. And if it hits and you're doing 10x, you'd get a Litecoin worth of that coin for only 0.1. I'm going to conclude this video in the next 30 or 40 seconds, but within OMMG, I was trying to buy it back cheaper in here. Unfortunately, I guess you could say the markets went up, so it's going to be a lot harder now for me to get my buy. But what I've done is decide, okay, I could go and buy I can sell my Bitcoin for Litecoin and do all that type of stuff, but I figure I'll put the order in, and hopefully this rally will fail, and it can at least come back down to maybe a bit below 37, and I'll get my buy order, and then it can go back up again or do what it needs to do, because I don't care. For me, markets go up and down, I'm just going to have my orders ready to go, and I'm going to do the best that I can to manage risk and go with the charts and coins I think will not continuously go straight down, because those are the only movements that lose within my strategy. And have yourself a great day. Bye-bye.